let's just swing into it then.
Swing
into it.
That's the
Spider-Man,
perfect.
the new Spider-Man.
So hold on. So you called me on the phone. I am totally checked out of the Marvel thing because I don't really care, but I always look up spoilers, and so I looked up the spoilers.
It blew my mind, dude, that you were like, dude, tell me about Spider-Man 3. I've looked up all the spoilers. I was like, what? You looked up all the spoilers?
And I watched 3 spoiler reviews that are all the way through. I just don't. I'm so checked out.
Oh my gosh, bro. So all right, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. I watched Spider-Man 3. You watched all the reviews and all the spoilers.
And maybe this is like what is great filmmaking. Maybe that's what this is. Spider-Man, to me, the critics love it. You love it. Everyone loves it. I think it's a good movie.
Dude.
I haven't seen it, but
it's so funny to me.
Tell me why it's a good movie. Why does everybody love it?
You haven't seen Spider-Man 3, but you looked up all the trailers.
I've seen clips even on YouTube of Peter Parker coming in and all of them and fighting and saving Gwen. I've seen that.
That's not gospel. Okay, so Marvel Cinematic Universe, obviously the cultural phenomena of film for the past 10 years or however long. You got guys weighing in on it, legends in the industry weighing in on it, like Martin Scorsese has that infamous quote that like
theme parks.
These films they're not. It's not cinema. It's just like theme park rides that people go to and are just blown away. But he doesn't criticize it and call it like it's not a malicious thing. He's just like it's awesome and its own kind of art, but it's not classic cinema. Spider-Man 3.
Why is it a great third movie? Why is this so good? Because the third movie usually goes off the rails. The third Star Wars movie has always gone off the rails.
Okay, so the third Star Wars has always gone off the rails. I agree with you. Like the original trilogy, Tobey Maguire, the third Spider-Man, people usually check out after the second Spider-Man with Doc Ock. They're like, third Spider-Man, no go.
Amazing Spider-Man got canceled.
It got canceled before the third one, right? What makes this a great movie? Well, we talked about this earlier. We said that being a great movie, being a great film, there's also, in my opinion, there's also different metrics. You can't just say it's a great film or a bad film or a good film. You have to put it to a specific metric. Like, there's a different metric for a Martin Scorsese film, in my opinion, than there is for like a Star Wars film or a Steven Spielberg film. Like, sometimes directors are so big, so much of like a franchise themselves, that there's a different metric for what makes a great film for that director. In the same way that a Spielberg film comes with its own, or an M. Night Shyamalan, I cannot say his last name.
He's had one good movie.
This is not a thing. Again, I just have trouble with his name, all right? I do have trouble with his name.
You have a trucker hat on. You have a flannel. You are a racist, clearly.
M. Night, we'll say it's
Shyamalan, I think.
Shyamalan. M. Night Shyamalan. It's a beautiful name.
Yeah.
I think it's a great name. It's going to be huge.
Why is Spider-Man?
Like Trump.
Hold on. Why
it's a beautiful name.
Why is Spider-Man 3 great?
With a franchise like Spider-Man and the history that it has, also being coupled with a franchise like Disney and Marvel.
Yes.
Not only do you have Spider-Man the brand, right?
Yep.
So there's a different metric for what makes a great Spider-Man movie. This, all these things. On top of that, you've got it's a Marvel movie, and it's under the Disney brand. So all of those brands bring to them their own metrics of what makes a great Disney movie, what makes a great Marvel movie. And I think if you had Scorsese sitting on the couch next to you or whatever, he'd say the same thing. He's like, well, what makes a great Marvel movie is not the same thing as what makes a great Scorsese movie. And that's clear in his opinion that he thinks Marvel movies and superhero movies are not cinema. He thinks
it's a different art form.
It's a different art form. Right.
Yep.
So why is Spider-Man 3 a great movie, a great third movie in a trilogy? Ultimately, and if I could say one thing, and this is the opposite of what I usually say, it's not necessarily storytelling. What makes it a great film, a great Spider-Man film, a great third Spider-Man film, is that satisfied fan expectations.
In a good artistic way.
Yes.
because Rise of Skywalker tried to
in
do
a
that.
believable way. It satisfied the expectations in a believable, over the top, a believable and immersive way.
And in my opinion, when you do that, the critics love it and the audience loves it.
That was a 2.5-hour movie, and we said this earlier. We talked about this 2.5-hour movie. I thoroughly enjoyed. I never got bored. I watched it with my kids, so me and Liam, like an hour and a half into the movie, almost pushing the 2-hour mark, when it's about to get to like some serious action and what's happening, he's like, I really gotta pee. So I had to like, go, let's go. And I was like hustling out through the theater, like to get there and pee and come back real fast.
Yep.
Like I think he was like, it was like he was trying to go as fast as he could because we were both excited to get back in.
Yeah.
But it was a 2.5-hour movie.
Yeah.
And I took a break in the middle to go to the bathroom, and I still was excited to come back. I didn't want to miss anything.
Yeah.
That to me is indicative of the fact that even though it was a 2.5-hour movie, the pacing was great, the storytelling was there, the elements that wanted to keep me engaged were there.
As an outsider, not a big fan, not a huge fan, but appreciative of this stuff, the thing that I feel like it has going for it is so... No one has... It's like Avengers. No one ever put on the first one. No one ever put all these superheroes on film before.
Yeah.
For this, no one has ever taken all the villains and the 2 Spider-Mans from the other thing, written the story so it makes sense for them to come into this universe, and it works.
Dude, it is so impressive to me that it worked.
It's so impressive.
Not only that, but they paid homage to the other franchises. Great. They painted the other franchises in a light that was actually, in some cases, better than what those movies were. They paid homage to the Tobey Maguire franchise in a beautiful way. His character comes off as genuine in the movie. When he shows up, it's a pretty epic thing. The comedy beats in Spider-Man 3 are brilliantly woven in. Okay. Sometimes with comedy and like these Joss Whedon type Marvel films, sometimes it's like, why would you do a one-liner right there? Give me a break. The comedy beats in Spider-Man 3 are very well done, in my opinion. The riffing that comes back and forth between how Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, which for the audience, if you did not know that, spoiler alert, all 3 Spider-Man do in fact make it in this movie. And if you did not know that by now, you're insane. Why would they pass up on that cash cow? They had to do that.
It's genius. They took 2 other universes that were done and canceled, and they said, we're going to redo Spider-Man. And they said, nope, that's a part of the same universe. That's genius. That's different. The Last Jedi is not different. The Last Jedi is not. It does nothing new.
The Last Jedi it encapsulates everything that you don't want to do in film.
The sequel trilogy defined what I hate about art. Because nothing new happens. What happens new in The Last Jedi? They almost do something. They almost say, yeah, the Force is bad, whatever. It's not light or whatever. And then at the end, they go completely back to, we're going to do the Battle of Hoth over, but we're going to do it bad. No strategy. And then it's still Empire versus Rebellion. This is different.
Yeah. Willem Dafoe is the Green Goblin in the movie. We know this. You know this because you've seen the spoilers. I know it because I watched the movie.
And the trailer.
Trailer.
Yeah, you watched the movie. I didn't. I watched reviews. That's why I can't talk about it.
And very early on, for everyone who's worried about the Power Ranger suit of Willem Dafoe, this movie is self-aware in a way that I think is beautiful. It's self-aware. Tobey Maguire, when he first shows up, everybody knew that Tobey Maguire, of the 3 Spider-Men, had the most reservations about being in the movie. And he shows up in like a track suit, like this track jacket, t-shirt, jeans, and they even comment at one point. Andrew Garfield looks at him and is like, "Are you going to do this thing dressed as a cool youth pastor or what?"
That means he's dressing old.
Yeah. Like
because it was 10 years ago. It was 13,
right.
14
For him, it was a long time. Yeah, it was a long time ago. And so they pay homage to what everybody knows that Tobey Maguire probably. People are wondering as they see him enter the scene. They're like, is he gonna Spider-Man up? Some people are thinking maybe he just is like a mentor. I remember watching the movie going, is he just a mentor? Is he just gonna be like, hey guys, we can figure it out with some science. Let's science this, like.
And they're characters. They're actor. It's not a cameo.
Yeah.
It's an act. It's not Luke Skywalker from The Force Awakens.
Every one of them gets their redemption moment. That's a beautiful thing. It's self-aware, I think, too. This is something we didn't talk about. It's self-aware in people's responses to the certain villains. People loved Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2. And they do this redemption arc with Doc Ock that allows him that redemptive moment where he's basically sort of an anti-hero good guy. Like, he comes on the side of the good guys, you know, for the back half of the movie. And that's what people want, I think, because they really liked that character so much. It just serviced the fans' expectations so much. I remember when Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe, who's 66 years old, and this is something I found out recently, he's 66 years old. The only way he would agree to do this Spider-Man movie is if they would allow him to do all of his own stunts and all of his own fight scenes. Dude. Willem Dafoe is a freaking boss.
Do you remember when movies would come out like 10, 20 years ago, and after the third one, it was just done?
Yeah.
You told me something where and if they did another brand new thing. Apparently, you said this is apparently just the origin story.
Yeah.
That's new.
It's new. They took 3 movies, plus Spider-Man's been in other movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Now I'm excited for the next 3.
It is their own take of an origin story for Spider-Man, which this is so cool. So cool.
Pirates of the Caribbean 4, really? What are you going to do? No, they set up a new thing.
I think that's what you get when you start with a character that's 14 years old. When you started, you know, like, you've got plenty of room. Some of these characters, their arcs are done on literally just human limitations alone. Think about it. If you get one really big movie out every 2 or 3 years, by the end of the 3rd movie, or what happened with Marvel, by the end of the whole Endgame Infinity War thing, you've been doing movies for like 11 plus years or something like that. No wonder Tony Stark was done.
Yeah.
Because RDJ, who did a fantastic job as Iron Man, in my opinion, he is Iron Man. They'll probably never. I'll be dead before we see another guy play like Tony Stark Iron Man. You know, it's just not going to happen. I don't think.
Give it 3 years.
Shut up!
I'm sorry.
You saying I'm going to die in 3 years?
No.
What are you, the harbinger of death?
You're not going to die in 3 years. They're going to have a new Iron Man.
Give it 3 years, Cliff. You'll be gone.
That's not what I said.
We'll be done with you by then.
I said 3 years, you'll be alive, and they will reboot Iron Man.
Oh, maybe.
But dude, I just think it's fantastic because if you remember, like 10 or 20 years ago, you would have at the end of the 3rd one, they'd have some cheap oh, it's not over. Here's the villain, the new villain that's coming. But this is like, no. Apparently, Spider-Man gets an apartment. Nobody remembers him. He's by himself. And now it's like, okay, now the real Spider-Man story can begin.
And they reclaim all the things that needed to reclaim. They reclaim the "with great power comes great responsibility" arc. He got it through Aunt May, who dies in the movie.
Heard about that.
If you didn't know that, sorry, but not sorry.
Apparently,
not sorry.
Apparently, it's really epic. I haven't seen it.
She dies, but she tells him, "With great power comes great responsibility." It's like, that's what we've been wanting to hear as fans, and everybody knows that. If you want to be on board with Spider-Man, he has to hear that. That's his arc. That's his motivation. You can repackage it in a bunch of different ways, but he needs to hear those words. The redemption arcs, I loved. I love the redemption arcs for Andrew Garfield. There's a moment where he saves Mary Jane, and I watched that in the theater, and not Mary Jane, her name's Michelle Jones. He saves Zendaya's character, MJ. And when she's falling, and you know Andrew Garfield's reliving all this pain, and they make it where he saves her. And I looked over at my wife, she's tearing up, crying. I'm like, this is emotional, because you know that Andrew Garfield is literally, that Spider-Man is reliving the moment where he couldn't save Gwen.
Amazing Spider-Man 2, I remember. She falls, neck snaps, he bawls his eyes out. It cuts straight to the funeral scene.
Dude.
And it's like,
it was so harsh.
And they redeemed that, apparently.
And they went with him being the one that over time he was alone, and over time he stopped pulling his punches. He started hitting the criminals harder, hurting people really bad because he was bitter because of what happened, because he lost Gwen. And they went with Toby's arc being that him and Mary Jane made it work. It was difficult, but they made it work, and it's complicated, I think is his words.
They satisfied after that failure that was Spider-Man 3. They somehow fixed that.
Yeah.
They fixed the Amazing Spider-Man 2 that got canceled. And like that's new.
So,
Last Jedi fans, that's new.
They made fun of,
new.
and they made fun of the stuff people didn't like in Amazing Spider-Man 2. They made fun of Rhino, the Rhino character. He even said he's like because they were talking about all the supervillains they fought, and Tom Holland talks about fighting a purple alien on a different planet, and they're like, "Whoa, you went in outer space?" And like Andrew Garfield's like, "I'm just a wuss, man. I fought like a rhino in a robot suit, or a dude in a robot rhino suit."
That's amazing.
And so they made fun of that moment. What they did, however, set up was some interesting arcs. These are Easter eggs. So Easter eggs for the movie. Tom Hardy's Venom was in fact in the movie. There's a post-credit scene where Tom Hardy's Venom.
You called that.
Yeah, I did. I said, dude, this because I watched Venom 2 and we saw the post-credit scene where he flashes into their reality. He's sitting in the bar and him and Venom are both drunk, and he's asking the bartender about their world they're in. And by the time they get done with the explanation, the spell's over and he gets sent back to his world. He's like, I just got here, and whatever, he's gone. But a little piece of Venom, a little bit of symbiote, is still on the counter and kind of worms out or whatever. So they leaves room for villains, or conflict, I'll say. I don't know if it's villain or not. That leaves room for conflict. If you're a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, check out Spider-Man 3. They honor the characters the way they should. A lot of cool stuff in there. It's fun for the whole family. And keep being awesome, because that's how he made you.